I've always believed that the best thing about building something with your own hands from the ground up is that it becomes a part of you. Every corner, every flaw, every inch. You know it, you live it, you breathe with it. I knew my land. I knew how it sighed under a July sun, how it bent gently in the wind, and how the topsoil shifted after a steady rain. My ranch wasn't just acreage, it was a living diary. 20 years of grit, mistakes, and stubborn decisions hardened under the Texas sun. 240 acres of rough scrubland, mesquite, and sand, all stitched together with fence lines and sweat. But there was one feature that mattered above all the others, one I damn near broke myself to create. At the far edge of the land, tucked into a fold of dry oak brush in the western corner, sat a shimmering rise of pale sand carved by my own vision. A natural dune, or what passed for one in human hands, not just a pile of earth. It had taken me 5 full years to build it right, not dumped, not random engineered. Layer by delicate layer, compacted and cleaned, light quartz sand that glimmered like bleached gold under the sun. And I wasn't doing it for show. No, this was the groundwork for something personal, a legacy. I'd carved out a freshwater swimming pond near it, dug deep, sealed with bentonite clay to keep it from bleeding into the deeper rock. That was the future oasis. And lining its northern shoreline, a handmade beach I was saving for when I had grandkids. Somewhere they could play one day, barefoot in the sand their grandfather poured every ounce of his patience into. And patience is the key when working with sand. It's alive in its own way. You don't rush it. You don't touch it too soon. You let it settle, breathe. Like a whiskey barrel aging in the dark, good sand gets better when left undisturbed. I was proud of that dune, maybe too proud. Then came the divorce. I won't unpack all the ugly boxes. Just know this, 23 years married to a woman who dressed like catalog pages and preferred fundraisers and etiquette over dirt and freedom. Well, you put a man like me in the same house long enough with a woman like that, something's gonna give. She liked freshly painted fences. I liked fences that asked questions, not gave answers. She said a horse trough shouldn't double as a hot tub. I said, why the hell not? When she left, she didn't just take the dog and the furniture. She took her lawyer, too. A real polished type. Wore cufflinks in 105-degree heat. For 5 months, I was passed between courtrooms, mediations, and overpriced coffee bars in Austin. Meanwhile, my ranch sat like a machine on idle, humming, but empty. My foreman quit mid-January. I can't say I blame him. He'd watched me unravel like a hitched knot. And all those security cameras I bought and never installed, still sitting in their boxes in the shed, waiting for a life that wasn't upside down. Come early spring, the fog finally lifted. Mediation was over, the papers were signed, and I was back home. The weather was crisp, the bluebonnets had just started blooming along the fencing, and for the first time in months, I had peace. Almost. I saw it the 3rd day back, thought my eyes were playing tricks. The west side of the dune, the slope wasn't right. Subtle, sure, but I knew every curve of that hill like I knew the lines on my own hands. The dip on the southern face was too clean, too sharp, like a piece had been carved. A slope sand doesn't just fall into naturally. Wind doesn't do that, not neatly. I told myself it was runoff. We'd had heavy rains mid-Feb. Maybe the water flash-eroded part of it. But when I walked the base, I found tracks in the soft earth. Dual-axle tire impressions, heavy. Didn't match my truck. Didn't match anything I owned. I still tried to justify it. Maybe a part-timer came up while I was gone. Maybe a neighbor's contractor got turned around and took the fire lane. I checked all my work logs, nothing logged, no one I'd authorized. Then I climbed into the attic, dusted off the old drone, and launched it over the ridge. The signal was choppy with the spring breeze, but clear enough. It didn't lie. Compared with the satellite stills I had from last summer, the difference was plain. Clear as day, nearly half the dune's south face had been scooped clean off, not blown away. Excavated. At that point, I stopped pretending. This wasn't runoff. Wasn't erosion. Someone had stolen it. 5 tons of rare white sand, stripped in silence while I was busy sorting out lawyers and alimony checks. I stood in the scar of that dune, fists clenched, jaw tight, and one word screamed through my skull louder than every courtroom argument I'd been through in the past year. Theft. That night I went to war. Not with noise, not with a shotgun or a sheriff's truck parked on the lane. Quiet, like a rattlesnake waiting in shade. I mounted 3 trail cams, all infrared, motion-sensitive with cloud backup. One nestled in the scrubrush bearing down on the dune. One wired to the busted cattle fence 50 yards down. The last one mounted clean inside an old owl box on a utility pole, high, hidden, unnoticed. I didn't put up signs. No warnings. Let them come. And they did. In Texas, the wind talks at night. On the porch, wrapped in the dark, you can hear it. It whispers over rooftops, slips through cedar posts, combs the top of the land like fingers through hair. You learn to tell what's natural, armadillos in the brush, owls on the hunt, and what don't belong. That spring, I listened harder than I ever had in my life. Because I knew someone was coming. I didn't repair the dune, not yet. I left it raw and exposed like a trap with teeth open. Cameras were running, all of them live feeding to my cloud account under silent file names. Dune Cam, Fence Line, Owl Watch. For 2 weeks I played my part. Fixed some flashing on the barn roof, patched a pipe in the east pasture, cleaned out the stable gutters. Just a rancher getting back to home life. But every morning at 6 a.m. sharp, coffee in hand, I checked the footage. Like clockwork. Nothing for a while, not even deer. Then one Tuesday morning just before dawn, Dune Cam lit up green. Playback showed the timestamp, 3:17 a.m. A dark green dump truck rolled off County Road 43 and turned down my fire lane. Quiet as a ghost. No headlights until the last possible second. No logos, just reflective tape on the fenders glinting under moonlight. Behind it, a flatbed. On it, a compact front loader rumbling like a lion in its sleep. 3 men, all wearing neon safety vests. 2 had masks. The third one smoked while waving his arms, guiding the loader into position. There was no hesitation, no confusion. They'd done this before. The loader bit into the dune's flank with surgical precision. Not fast, not sloppy. This wasn't kids joyriding with a backhoe, this was choreographed. Shovel, dump, reverse. 10 minutes, then again. 10 more. Within 55 minutes, they were gone. I sat there at my kitchen table, surrounded by empty coffee cups and legal papers from a divorce I no longer gave a damn about, and stared at my laptop screen thinking, they're mining me. Next night, same routine. Different crew, still masked, still surgical. By the 3rd night, I stopped wondering if I was imagining things. I was hunting for certainty, and I got it delivered like a Christmas card. That night, the driver screwed up. He reversed too sharp coming out of the fire lane, and the back camera in the Owl Watch pole caught the license plate full on, no debris, no blur. Texas commercial plate. Coastal Aggregate LLC, Corpus Christi. My heart thudded like a drum. I opened my files, scanned all contractor work for the past 2 years, and there it was. Coastal Aggregate had done material supply for several local developments, including one that always rubbed me wrong. Sunset Shores. Even the name pissed me off. It wasn't a shore. It was 2 miles of bulldozed pasture built to look like Malibu on a dollar store budget. Gated community, faux villas with clay tiles, ring cameras on every doorpost, security not to keep trouble out, but to keep appearances in. I recognized the logo instantly, a cartoon sun over a crescent beach, a place prettier on paper than in real life. That night the rage came back, but refined, focused. You can't stab a man in the dark when you fight shadows, you need evidence. So I started collecting. Hour after hour of footage. 8 days worth. Every visit matched the others, consistent time windows, the same route, the same patterns. The loader even left its tread marks in the same damn place every time, like they thought symmetry somehow canceled out crime. Problem, they were getting too bold. On day 9, I found a new angle. I cross-referenced the commercial plate to delivery logs. Texas has cargo weight regulations stricter than a nun's moral code. Every dump truck needs delivery manifests. And Coastal had them, tucked away just a browser search beyond the public domain. Each manifest listed tonnage and delivery schedules. Guess what? Their delivery records matched my footage to the minute. Manifest notes, pickup at local TX source. 4 loads, 5.2 tons each, weekly drop-offs, destination, Sunset Shores HOA Site 5. Site 5. I knew that site. I knew where the money went to. That same damn beach they were bragging about for months. Clean, white, sparkling like something out of a travel brochure. Problem is, nobody in this part of Texas has sand that pure. Except me. The next morning I opened their website, slick as oil spill, filled with talk of curated lifestyle experiences and coastal elegance. I nearly threw my coffee through the monitor. But then there it was. Full-screen banner. Grand opening this Saturday, Sunset Shores Private Community Lagoon and Beach. The photo stopped my breath. That damn sand. The shimmer, the color, almost pearl blonde when dry with that slight bluish tint when wet. It was unmistakable. The kind of luxury quartz blend you don't just find in bulk. I know. I spent 5 years sourcing it from a desolate vein near Llano that only 3 people even knew about. And they had spread it like dollar store mulch in front of folding chairs and tiki torches. I launched my drone from the ridge trail that overlooks the bluff just outside their secured zone. I didn't even need to zoom far. The beach was new, crisp, untouched by footprints. When I magnified the shoreline, I could actually see it. Tire tracks. The loader's tracks. The same pattern, same depth, same damn make and model as the one from the video. Matched down to the inch. They weren't hiding it, they weren't erasing it. They stole from me and put it in a brochure. And then, the final cherry on top of this corporate sundae, the event was open to the public. A community showcase. Oh, I was going. But not to smile. The closer Saturday came, the stranger it felt, standing on my own land, staring out at a glittering stretch of beach that didn't exist 2 months ago, knowing it was built with the backbone of my soil. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was calculated, haunted into sharpness. You spend years building something sacred, and then someone takes a piece of it, paints over it, and hands it out like raffle prizes at a poolside HOA meeting. That does something to a man. The fact that their big grand opening was open to the public. A stroke of arrogance only people like her are capable of. Karen Rivera, president of the Sunset Shores Homeowners Association. A woman who wore power like perfume, too strong, too deliberate, and designed to hide something rotten underneath. She appeared in local television spots over the last year, grinning next to developers, talking about community cohesion and lifestyle elevation. I'd turned off the TV every time she showed up. Something about her always itched like a splinter under the skin. Turns out I should have trusted my instincts. Saturday, 11:40 a.m. I parked my truck 2 ridges over and walked in from the woods, not out of paranoia, but because I preferred a wide view. From up high, through a cover of post oaks, I watched the HOA circus roll out like a Broadway show. Brunch tables, umbrellas, folding chairs with stupid branded tote bags tucked into every seat. They'd set up a makeshift stage flanked by pastel balloons and acoustic guitar music badly mic'd through a portable PA. And right where the beach curved in a perfect crescent, the sand sparkled unnaturally white under the noon sun, just like it had on my land before the thieves came. They hadn't just mimicked my dune. They dragged it here. I didn't sneak in. Didn't need to. The gate was wide open, with volunteers handing out wristbands and fruit water like it was a farmer's market. I walked through in my usual ranch boots, straight-cut jeans, denim shirt, and hat pulled low. People barely looked at me. I wasn't dressed like a threat, which made me one. I bypassed the food tent and beelined toward the display boards near the entry point of the beach. Laminated, full-color posters boasted about sustainably sourced local materials. My jaw tightened when I saw it. Natural white quartz beach sand, sourced from regional inland dunes. Liars. Then I saw her. Karen Rivera, queen of pastels, wearing a tailored white linen suit and oversized sunglasses on her head like a crown. Clipboard in one hand, sparkling water in the other. She grinned as some guy in a news polo asked for a quote. When I walked up, she didn't even see me at first, too busy being admired. "Excuse me," I said, voice calm but cutting. "You the person responsible for this new beach?" She glanced sideways without looking up. "If you're a resident, please speak to event check-in for a wristband," she said, almost bored. "I'm not a resident," I replied, "but I believe I own the majority of the beach you're standing on." That got her attention. She finally looked at me, eyes tracing from the dust on my boots to the weathered creases of my shirt collar. I saw it, that flicker, that tiny ripple beneath her carefully constructed surface. "I'm sorry, who are you?" "Travis Merrill," I said. "I own the ranch just west of here, the one with the sand dune you've been stripping clean in the middle of the night." The fake smile vanished like a light switch, flicked off, gone. "That's a serious accusation," she said. "And a true one," I replied. I pulled my phone from my back pocket, flipped open a high-resolution still from the footage. "This is one of your contractor trucks. Coastal Aggregate LLC recorded trespassing on my land at 3:17 a.m. multiple nights. I recognize the loader too. Same wheelbase and tread pattern, and now I see the identical pattern in your sand." Karen stared at the image, but gave nothing away. "Mr. Merrill," she began, sickly sweet again, "Sunset Shores is committed to enriching the community experience for everyone in the area. I'm sorry if you feel inconvenienced." I laughed, sharp and low. "Inconvenienced? Lady, you stole 5 tons of a rare mineral compound I spent a decade hauling out of the Llano Basin." Her tone flattened. No more performance, just a blade hiding beneath silk. "Well," she said, "perhaps if you had chosen to be part of the community instead of excluding yourself, this could have been a collaborative opportunity." My jaw locked. "You mean when I declined to join your HOA 10 years ago? When you came out to my gate offering a welcome package, and I told you I don't do groupthink or gated rules?" Karen crossed her arms. "You live within the district boundary lines." "No," I said flatly. "I was surveyed outside the expansion zone. I never signed a petition, never agreed to annexation, never paid a dime to your board." She didn't flinch, just leaned forward slightly, voice dripping arrogance. "You use the county road maintained by shared tax funds. You benefit from our infrastructure. That makes you part of the larger system." I stared at her in disbelief. "So what? Now you think that means my land is community property?" She raised her sunglasses up to her forehead and said, straight-faced, "Technically, the sand was a natural, unaltered part of the terrain. And under transitional zone ordinance subarticles, environmental materials can be considered part of the shared ecological matrix. If you wanted to retain exclusive control, you should have filed an exclusion according to the 2009 Rural Land Use Clause." There it was. The entire con. Hidden in jargon, buried under bureaucracy. She wasn't just stealing. She'd convinced herself she was entitled to it. "I've got footage. I've got foundation tests. I've even got a time-stamped delivery manifest from Coastal Aggregate that matches the property camera. And I strongly suggest you prepare your counter-arguments," she said, low and cold. Because if you think a little sand makes you immune from accountability, you're in for a surprise. I left without another word. I didn't trust myself to stay civil. But as I walked back up through the brush toward the bluff, I looked one more time at the stolen white oasis laid out like a showroom trophy, glowing in its unnatural perfection. And I made myself a silent promise. I'm not just taking back my sand, I'm taking them all down with it. The war didn't start in the courtroom. It started on a kitchen table. Mine, to be exact, covered in drone stills, printed manifests, survey maps, and a hard drive full of footage that would make any judge sit up and take notice. I stood over it like a man planning a heist, except this heist had already happened to me. I wasn't after courtroom drama. I wasn't even after attention. What I needed was proof, not just of stolen sand, but of intentional, coordinated theft. I needed names, numbers, signatures, and I knew just the man to help me dig. His name was Dale Ryerson, my attorney of 15 years, small-town Texan with the permanent frown of someone who's read too many lies in 12-point font. Dale's fashion sense leaned toward funeral-ready CPA, gray suits, scuffed shoes, and a habit of chewing pens like jerky. But never mistake that for weakness. He was a bulldog, trained in Texas land law like it was the Ten Commandments, and the only person I trusted to go to war with me. I showed up at his office Monday morning. No appointment. Walked in carrying a folder the size of a county phone book and a thumb drive labeled HOA 911. Dale took one look at the stack, looked at my face, and said, "So, we suing God or just all his lower managers?" What we filed was more than a land dispute. By Wednesday, Dale had drafted a civil complaint in Travis County District Court, naming Sunset Shores HOA, Coastal Aggregate LLC, and Karen Rivera personally. Charges: criminal trespass, theft of private natural resources, fraudulent misappropriation of land assets, destruction of property, civil conspiracy, and damages totaling $48,000, plus fees and losses. The filing included drone footage from 3 separate cameras, GPS-tagged timestamps, trademarked sand composition analysis, property lines certified under the 1998 Rural Parcel Act. Less than 48 hours later, we got our answer. And it wasn't a denial. It was a countersuit, filed right back at us, with a smug little cover letter from some downtown Austin firm that charged HOA boards $400 an hour, so they could threaten people for having the wrong shade of mailbox paint. Their main argument: the dune in question existed within a transitional environmental commons zone and was therefore never fully under exclusive private ownership. Transitional environmental commons zone. It sounded like something a city intern made up while drunk on kombucha and zoning loopholes. They cited an ordinance from 2009 I'd never even heard of, claimed I benefited from shared infrastructures like county roads and fire services. Thus, by their logic, I'd waived exclusive control over public-facing resources. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, there was an attachment, a land access agreement, scanned, notarized, signed. It granted Sunset Shores temporary, off-hours access to my property for selective environmental realignment and material redistribution. Backdated 2 years prior. The signature read, Catherine Merrill, my ex-wife. I stood in Dale's office, holding that page like it was dipped in acid. She didn't sign this, I said. She wouldn't. She didn't even know what bentonite was. Last time she visited the ranch, she asked me if tumbleweeds were poisonous. Dale narrowed his eyes. Are you sure? I'm sure she didn't have signing rights, and she sure as hell didn't call my ranch a transitional zone. It's a dune. I keep hay bales next to it. He nodded slowly and made a call. 2 days later, we had our answer. The signature was forged. Didn't even match her own spelling. Legal name at the time, Catherine Fulton. Been that way since the ink dried on our divorce decree 3 years ago. What the countersuit filed was a ghost document. One with no traceable origin, no metadata, just a PDF scan uploaded from an unknown Gmail address, no author history, no file path, just one clean little lie pretending to be a canvas bag full of legal weight. Something stank, and we were just now catching the smell. Then came the pressure. Social media lit up overnight. Posts from fake-looking accounts popped up across Facebook pages, Nextdoor threads, even Twitter, calling me a land hoarder, rural monopolist, and anti-community. One photo showed a zoomed-out, distorted drone shot of my dune with text over it. One man's sand stash is another family's dream. Podcasters started calling me the Sand Scrooge of Travis County. Someone left a cardboard sign outside my gate with a shovel in a dollar store bucket of playground sand. It read, "Be a neighbor, share." Cute. What might have been funny before now just made my blood boil. This wasn't just petty smear tactics. It was strategy. The final straw came in a certified letter from the HOA's attorneys. They now added a new defense, implied authorization through cooperative silence. Cooperative silence. They argued that my failure to take immediate and documented civil action was proof that I had implicitly approved the sand extraction. Dale leaned over the letter, reading it twice. They were laying the groundwork to flip the burden, to make my inaction look like permission. "We need to pivot," he said. "Turn this into a conspiracy case. Show intent. Show they knew you'd be tied up with divorce, knew you'd be off the land, knew you couldn't fight." And that's when we decided to go digging. We subpoenaed Coastal Aggregates payment logs. They fought it hard, tried to seal the invoices, cite corporate privacy. But the judge wasn't buying it, and Dale rammed through a court order like a battering ram full of fury. What we found? Their delivery reports matched exactly with the nights my cameras filmed the trucks. The same plate, same driver initials, the same tonnage. But more damning, they weren't billing the HOA officially. The payments came from a private account, an unlisted capital improvement escrow fund, processed through a boutique finance firm operating under the name South Shore Consulting Group. That's when the earth really dropped. Because I'd heard that name before, once, maybe twice. From one person, Catherine. She mentioned them during the divorce, said something about portfolio diversification. She'd always been high on jargon and low on follow-through, but it clicked. "The guy who handles this fund drives a white Jag," she'd said once. "Used to work corporate finance in Dallas." Dale ran the name. Came back with Ryan Collier, managing director, sole officer of record for South Shore Consulting. Guess whose name appeared in Catherine's financial disclosures for monthly consulting payments? Ryan Collier's. Titled as Private Investment Transfers, Consultation Fee. Legal, sure, harmless, not anymore. Because the deeper we looked, the dirtier it got. The emails came next. Pulled from Ryan's server under subpoena. The subject: Dune Resource Timeline. Attached: an Excel spreadsheet matching projected sand removal dates to my drone footage at column for volume completion goals based on asset outflow. One forwarded message came from Catherine's personal account. It read, "He'll be in Austin again next week, load freely." My hand trembled reading it. She was in on it. All of them were. The next morning, we flew in a forensic accountant from San Antonio. A no-nonsense woman named Trudy who wore cowboy boots and smelled like menthols and fury. She pulled 5 years of Catherine's bank history and found it all. $120,000 in transfers to South Shore over 14 months. But what hit harder? She discovered an offshore trust, registered in the Cayman Islands under a holding shell called Riverlight Management. Beneficiaries: Catherine Fulton, Ryan Collier, Karen Rivera. There it was. The HOA queen, the finance ghost, and my ex-wife all working together to rob me blind. But I wasn't blind anymore. I was focused. And I wasn't just coming for my sand now. I was coming for everything they built on it. It's a hell of a thing, walking into a courtroom knowing the people who tried to erase you are about to self-destruct right in front of a judge. No one tells you how quiet justice feels. No dramatic music, no wind flapping your coat behind you like in the movies. Just the hum of fluorescent lights and chairs that creak a little too loud. But that morning I wasn't there for pacing and posture. I was there for truth. And I brought everything with me. The trial opened on a Wednesday. Small-town courthouse, big-time tension. Local press showed up. Not just camera crews from Austin and San Antonio, but national reporters, bloggers, landowner magazines, even a live stream labeled Community Transparency Proceedings, courtesy of Sunset Shores trying to salvage their name. Good luck with that. I wore the same boots I broke ground in when I started building my dune. Dale, my attorney, looked like vengeance in khakis. Uneven tie, jaw carved out of granite, sleeves rolled up like the Constitution was personal to him. We sat on one side. Across from us, Karen Rivera, HOA tyrant in a cream blazer and $1,000 sunglasses. Ryan Collier, smug finance con, trying and failing to pretend none of this mattered. And my ex-wife, Catherine, face pale, staring down at nothing, wearing a drama that didn't suit her anymore. This was it. Everything they stole, twisted, faked, it all came into full light. The evidence spoke before we did. Dale opened with the drone footage. The jury watched. No sound. Just frame after time-stamped frame of trucks sneaking in at 3:17 a.m., loading white sand like it was gold dust and hauling it out like clockwork. The GPS overlays didn't lie. The soil sample comparisons followed. Dale walked them through the chemical breakdown, identical composition in both the HOA beach and the remaining fragments of my dune. Not close, exact. Then came the logistics. We tied every camera recording to Coastal Aggregate's own manifests, complete with matching plate numbers, volume tallies, and timestamps, so tight the jury could practically feel the diesel fumes. That covered theft. Now came conspiracy. Dale introduced the private fund records next, the secret side pool that Sunset Shores used to pay Coastal Aggregate off the books. How HOA member dues were quietly skimmed, filtered through South Shore Consulting, then bounced into offshore trusts operated by 3 cozy little names. Rivera, Collier, Fulton. The forensic accountant, Trudy, took the stand, boots, blazer, and all, and walked the jury through every payment, every transfer, every memo deceptively labeled ecosystem redevelopment. You don't hide money this well unless you already know you're guilty, she said with a shrug. Then Dale hammered them with documents. The forged land access agreement. A stolen notary seal. A signature from Catherine Merrill, a name she hadn't used in 3 years. The signature didn't match verified samples. The notary didn't exist. The metadata, gone. By the end of day 3, the jury didn't just look convinced. They looked furious. Coren's defense tried to pivot. They suggested Coastal Aggregate acted independently, rogue haulage, they called it. When that failed, they shifted blame to Ryan. When that cracked, they tried to claim the resources were intended for public benefit under a suburban beautification clause. That's when Dale brought in a land use professor who laughed on the stand before testifying that redistributing natural resources without owner consent is just a fancy way of saying stealing. Then came the whistleblower, Ryan's assistant. A nervous guy, early 30s, kind of skinny, looked like he drank a lot of coffee and didn't sleep, but his testimony was fire. He handed over a folder labeled HOA Beach Project. Inside, drone survey plans, executive notes, meeting timing logistics, and the smoking gun, a handwritten memo from Karen. Once Travis is out of the picture, we can wrap the phase in 2 weeks. That line echoed through the room like a church bell. They didn't just take my land. They planned to erase me from it. 4 days in, Judge Howerin, no-nonsense, sharp-eyed, known locally as the Hammer of Hayes County, stopped Dale mid-slide deck. "Mr. Ryerson," she said, no expression, "I believe the jury has heard enough." Next morning, deliberation lasted less than 3 hours. The verdict: guilty on all counts. Civil conspiracy, fraudulent misappropriation of property, forgery, trespassing, willful destruction of private land. The courtroom did erupt. No sound, no gasps. Just that deep, buzzing silence where everyone in the room knows what just happened is going to ripple far beyond these walls. Then came the consequences. Karen Rivera was arrested in court, cuffed at her seat, blazer askew, jaw slack, reputation erased. Her Escalade repossessed. The house with the faux Italian arches sold at auction. Word is, it's being converted into a therapeutic goat sanctuary run by a woman named Crystal. Fitting, goats make better neighbors. Ryan Collier panicked, tried playing the brain fog card, claimed overwork and miscommunication. Judge denied it with a single glare. He lost his consulting license on the spot. His white Jaguar, bought by someone's teenage kid who spray-painted flames on it. Poetic enough to frame. Catherine took a plea deal, avoided jail but got 3 years probation. Lifetime ban from managing any financial institutions. 600 hours of community service. Last I heard, she was sorting plastic at a rural recycling plant. Only thing she's reclaiming now is cardboard. The HOA itself dissolved. Assets frozen and placed into audit by the court. Any member who signed knowingly on that beach project, suspended pending criminal referrals. And me, $570,000 in awarded damages. That included the stolen sand, full legal fees, personal and reputational harm, and what the judge called restorative compensation for targeted exploitation. But the money, that wasn't the wind. The land was. The judge filed a boundary clause that officially strips any future HOA, city petition, or developer within 2 miles of even applying for infrastructure claim on my acreage. In Texas land law, that's basically stay the hell out. I didn't wait. Within 2 weeks, I brought in 5 new truckloads of my sand, same source, same quality. I graded it myself, 3 weeks of backbreaking work. Only this time, ground pressure sensors underneath, security stakes around the perimeter, and a brand new sign near County Road 43. Private property, no trespassing, no HOA, no Karen. No ITS, not your sand. It went viral. Honest to God, some couple from Arizona stopped just to take selfies next to it. A Dallas radio station called me the Sand King. The recognition didn't matter. What did? One quiet morning, coffee in hand, watching the breeze move across that restored dune like it was breathing again. No trucks, no vultures, just peace. Butch, my dog, snored under my porch swing. Somewhere in the distance, wind rustled through mesquite trees that hadn't seen courtrooms or lies, just dry heat and long memory. Veterans Group reached out, asked if they could use part of the pond for outdoor therapy gatherings. Said their folks needed bonfires, quiet water, and land that listened. I said yes. And wouldn't you know, a few folks from Llano County called after, said their HOA was giving them grief over solar panels. I gave them advice. And Dale's number. The land's not just mine now. It's mine again. Whole reclaimed, quiet. The dune stands just like I envisioned it 10 years ago, pale, fierce, permanent. And every inch of it says one thing. You tried to erase me. You failed. Party Popper bonus epilogue, optional add-on. Let me know if you'd like one final short wrap-up chapter, a poetic reflection or maybe a flash forward where years later, the grandkids finally set foot on the beach he built.